You've done everything right, measured your carbs, taken your meds, even skipped dessert. But if your morning blood sugar is still high, the real problem might be your evening habits. In this video, I'll walk you through 7 common nighttime dinner habits, ranked from harmful to healing, that could change the way you manage your blood sugar. Tap like, subscribe, and tell me, what's your usual dinner routine like these days? I'd love to know. And now, it's time for the intro. 3, 2, 1. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon when Edna walked into my office, bundled in a thick wool cardigan despite the early spring sun. She smiled, but I could see the fatigue in her eyes, the kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from a lack of sleep, but from weeks, maybe months, of feeling off. She sat down slowly, brushing a strand of gray hair behind her ear, and said, "Doc, I've been doing everything right, but something still isn't working." That something, as it turned out, was her blood sugar. Not dangerously high, but creeping, not stable. And Edna, like many folks I see in their 60s or 70s, was doing what she thought was best: whole grain toast, fruit at night, a glass of red wine to help her relax. Seemed harmless, even healthy. But I've seen it too many times to ignore. What we eat at night often matters just as much, if not more, than what we eat during the day. See, your body isn't just counting calories or carbs. After 60, your metabolism changes, your insulin sensitivity decreases, your liver slows down, and your hormones aren't quite the same dance partners they used to be. If you're eating things that spike your blood sugar in the evening, or worse, disrupt your sleep, you're setting yourself up for a cascade of problems: morning fatigue, stubborn belly weight, mood swings, and even higher risk of insulin resistance. I told Edna something I now share with all my patients: your evening habits can either heal or harm your blood sugar. And tonight, we're going to walk through the 7 most common dinner time habits, ranked from the most damaging to the most healing. Some might surprise you. Some you've been doing for years without even thinking. And that's okay. This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness and gentle change. And don't worry, I'm not here to tell you to fast for 16 hours or give up your favorite meal. What I am here to do is help you understand how your nighttime plate affects your blood sugar numbers the next morning. If you've ever woken up groggy, thirsty, or unusually hungry despite eating a full dinner, this conversation is for you. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear picture: what habits are silently sabotaging your sugar levels and which ones are quietly helping your body reset each night. And we're going to do this like how I talk to my own patients: simply, practically, and always with the goal of adding more ease and health into your life. So let's start our countdown, from the most harmful to the most healing dinner habits, and find out what your evenings might really be doing to your blood sugar. Let's begin with the habit I've seen cause more late-night blood sugar chaos than almost anything else: eating dinner too late, especially after 8 p.m. I remember a man named Harold. A retired railroad worker from Tennessee. Harold was 71 when he first came to see me. He had a strong handshake, a dry sense of humor, and a soft spot for old westerns. Every evening, without fail, he'd settle into his recliner at 8:30, plate of food on his lap, remote in hand, TV tuned to a rerun of Gunsmoke. "Doc, that's my piece," he said. "Quiet house, no distractions, just me and my roast beef." But Harold also struggled with restless nights, waking up multiple times to use the bathroom, and often felt foggy in the mornings. His blood sugar readings told the story loud and clear: higher than they should have been, especially upon waking. "Why would it be high in the morning if I stopped eating the night before?" he asked me, confused. It's a question I get a lot. The truth is, our body's internal clock, what we call the circadian rhythm, has a huge impact on how we process food. After 8 p.m., the body naturally starts to prepare for rest, digestion slows, insulin sensitivity decreases, and the liver becomes less efficient at managing glucose. So when we eat late, especially a full meal, our body isn't primed to process it properly. The sugar sits longer in the bloodstream, and that can trigger spikes not just overnight but also into the next morning. It's not just about what you eat, it's about when. And as we age, this becomes even more true. The same late dinner that a 30-year-old might handle without issue can leave someone in their 60s tossing, turning, and waking up with sky-high glucose. The signs are subtle at first: waking up parched, feeling extra hungry even after breakfast, groggy mornings that feel disproportionate to how you slept. That's your body's way of saying, hey, we weren't ready to handle all that food so late. Now, I'm not saying you need to eat at 4:30 like some retirement homes. But there's a sweet spot, usually between 5:30 and 6:30 p.m., where your body still has time to digest before the deeper stages of rest begin. It's also about letting at least 2 hours pass between your last bite and bedtime. For Harold, we started small. He pushed dinner back just 45 minutes earlier and added a short evening walk around the block. Within a month, he reported sleeping through the night, first time in years. His morning numbers improved too, without changing a single ingredient on his plate. And that's the magic of timing. You don't have to reinvent your meals, just respect your body's clock. Because after 60, it's not just about eating less sugar, it's about eating smarter. So if you're someone who finds comfort in a late dinner, I understand. But let's rethink that habit together, because even a quiet bowl of soup an hour earlier could be the gentle shift your body's been needing all along. Not long after Harold adjusted his dinner time, another familiar face came through my door: Nancy, 64, a retired librarian with a love for crossword puzzles and Italian cooking. She brought me a basket of zucchini from her garden, and after a bit of friendly chatter, she sighed and said, "I've been eating earlier like you suggested, but I still wake up starving. My sugar's all over the place." I smiled gently. "Tell me about your dinners, Nancy." "Well," she started, "last night was penne pasta with garlic bread. Night before that, mashed potatoes and meatloaf. And I do love a good rice pilaf on Sundays." There it was, habit number 6, too much refined starch at dinner. And believe me, I get it. These foods are comforting, quick to make, and for many of us, tied to memories and family traditions. But the issue with white bread, white rice, pasta, and mashed potatoes isn't the flavor, it's the way they behave inside our aging bodies. You see, these refined carbs digest very quickly, acting almost like sugar once they hit your bloodstream. They spike your blood glucose fast and high, then crash it just as quickly, leaving you feeling hungry, moody, or anxious just a couple hours later. It's a roller coaster, and for someone in their 60s or beyond, that ride becomes harder to recover from. I explained it to Nancy like this: imagine you light a match, it burns hot, fast, then disappears. That's white starch. What we need instead is a slow-burning log, something that feeds your system gently and evenly through the night. She looked at me thoughtfully. "But I've always thought rice and bread were staples, safe." "They were, once," I said. "But our bodies change. What worked in your 30s might not work now. Especially when it comes to blood sugar. We worked together to make simple swaps. Instead of white pasta, she tried lentil-based noodles. Instead of mashed potatoes, she made roasted sweet potatoes with olive oil and rosemary. And rice? She gave brown basmati a shot. Within 2 weeks, she noticed a difference: no more waking up ravenous. Her morning sugar readings were steadier, and she even had more energy in the afternoons. She told me, "I don't miss the white stuff as much as I thought I would. It's the flavors that matter, not the color." If you're still relying on refined carbs at night, think white toast, white rice, crackers, pasta, it's time to rethink your plate. You don't need to go low carb or start counting every gram. Just choose smarter carbs. Whole grains, legumes, root vegetables, they break down slower and nourish more deeply. Because the goal isn't to cut joy out of dinner, it's to keep your joy from turning into a glucose spike. And the best part? These swaps don't take away your favorite meals, they just give them a little upgrade. Your body will thank you for it, especially in the morning. Just as Nancy was learning to reimagine her plate, another patient reminded me of a different kind of dinner habit, one that's just as sneaky when it comes to blood sugar, the nightly drink. Thomas, 66, had the easy charm of a retired jazz musician, which he was. Every Thursday, he still played at a small club downtown, and every evening after dinner, he poured himself a glass of red wine. "Doc, it helps me wind down," he told me. "One glass, sometimes two. Nothing crazy." And he wasn't wrong. For many people, a small drink in the evening is a ritual, part comfort, part routine. But when Thomas started noticing odd symptoms, waking up in the middle of the night, feeling shaky or overheated, then dragging through the next day, I took a closer look at his numbers. His blood sugar was dipping too low at night, then bouncing back high by morning. It's a pattern I've seen often, especially in people over 60. Alcohol can have a strange effect on blood glucose. At first, it may lower it, especially if you're drinking without food, but as your liver processes the alcohol, it can throw off your body's natural rhythm of glucose regulation. For people on certain medications, it's even riskier. I explained to Thomas that alcohol acts like a trickster. It might seem like it's relaxing you, but it's also interfering with the hormones that help your body maintain stable blood sugar overnight. Plus, it can suppress deep sleep, even if you do fall asleep faster. He frowned. "So, I can't enjoy my wine anymore?" "No," I said gently. "But we need to look at the timing, the amount, and what else is going on in your system. It's not about never, it's about understanding how your body is responding now that you're in a different season of life." We experimented. He moved his drink earlier, sipped it with dinner instead of after, and made sure to pair it with a protein-rich meal. On nights when he felt anxious or restless, he tried alternatives, a calming cup of chamomile tea, listening to music, or even doing a short breathing exercise he learned years ago. And slowly, things shifted. He began sleeping deeper, waking more refreshed. His fasting sugar numbers improved, and he no longer had those mysterious night sweats. "Turns out," he said with a chuckle, "my saxophone isn't the only thing that needs better timing." If you're in the habit of having a drink to end the day, especially after dinner, I'm not here to shame you. But I do want you to understand what it might be doing to your blood sugar behind the scenes. That wine, that cocktail, that beer, they can all affect your glucose differently as you age. So try this, move it earlier. Enjoy it with food. And if sleep or sugar is a concern, consider taking a break a few nights a week. You might be surprised how much better your body, and your mornings, feel. Because in the end, the goal isn't perfection. It's finding the right rhythm, one that lets you rest, digest, and wake up ready for whatever the day brings. Not long after Thomas found his rhythm with wine, I had a follow-up appointment with Ruth, 70, soft-spoken, always dressed in lavender. She carried herself with quiet grace and kept a tidy food journal, which she showed me with pride. As she opened her notebook, she said, "I've been doing almost everything you suggested, doctor. Dinner at 6, no wine, brown rice instead of white, but my numbers are still spiking around midnight. I don't understand." I flipped through the journal, and something caught my eye. Almost every entry ended the same way: 1/2 mango, or peach slices, sometimes a scoop of vanilla ice cream. It was a pattern: healthy dinner, then something sweet. "Tell me," I asked gently, "is the fruit part of dinner, or a little treat afterward?" "Oh, always after," she said, smiling. "I grew up believing fruit was nature's dessert. Better than cookies, right?" She wasn't wrong in spirit. Fruit is natural. And certainly better than highly processed sweets. But when it comes to blood sugar, especially in the evening, even natural sugars can tip the balance. I explained that after dinner, especially when insulin sensitivity is already winding down for the day, adding something sweet, be it a mango, banana, or even a small serving of ice cream, can push blood glucose higher than the body is ready to handle. It's not just about sugar quantity, it's timing. Think of your metabolism at night like a slow boat, I said. During the day, it's a fast-moving river, food comes in, gets processed efficiently. But at night, it slows. So if you throw a big sugar rock into that slow boat, it makes a bigger splash. She laughed. You're telling me my fruit is making waves? In a way, yes, I said. To help her, we tried shifting things. She still got to enjoy her favorite fruits, but earlier, either with dinner or in the afternoon as a snack. After dinner, we replaced the habit with something warm and soothing, cinnamon tea or a handful of walnuts. And the results? Her overnight spikes calmed. She felt lighter in the mornings and even reported fewer cravings before bed. Sweetness isn't the enemy. But in the hours before sleep, your body is asking for rest, not another sugar curveball. If you've made a habit of having something sweet to finish the meal, try reimagining that ritual. Maybe it's a warm herbal drink, a few berries earlier in the day, or even just a pause, a moment to feel satisfied without needing more. Because sometimes the sweetest part of dinner isn't what's on the plate, it's knowing your body will thank you later. After Ruth made her gentle shift away from late-night sweets, I found myself thinking about how often our habits aren't just about what we eat, but why we eat the way we do. That thought was fresh in my mind the day Walter came in. He was 72, widowed for 5 years, tall and still strong-looking, but you could see the heaviness in his eyes. A retired mechanic, Walter wasn't much of a talker, but that day he surprised me by staying after his checkup to chat. I've been trying everything, Doc, he said. Eating earlier, switching to brown rice, no desserts. But I still feel off. I don't enjoy eating anymore. Feels like a chore. So I asked him to walk me through his dinner routine. And that's when the picture became clearer. Every evening, Walter ate alone in front of the TV, news on full volume, phone in one hand, fork in the other. No table, no pause. Just noise and silence at the same time. And here's the thing, even when your food choices are good, your state of mind while eating can dramatically affect your digestion, insulin response, and overall metabolism. When we eat in a state of stress, distraction, or emotional numbness, like loneliness, our bodies shift into a fight-or-flight mode. Cortisol levels rise. Blood sugar becomes harder to control. Digestion slows. And instead of nourishment, we walk away from dinner feeling bloated, unsatisfied, or still craving something, often not even knowing what. I told Walter something I often tell patients in his shoes: sometimes it's not your food that's missing something, it's the experience of feeling connected. He looked down at his hands and nodded. I guess I missed the sound of someone asking, "How was your day?" We didn't talk about big therapy steps or joining social groups right away. We just started small. I asked him to turn off the TV during dinner. Light a candle, even if it felt silly. Chew slowly. Look out the window while he ate. And once or twice a week, call his daughter before or after the meal, just to hear a voice. 3 weeks later, he came back smiling. You were right, he said. The food hasn't changed, but I feel fuller. And I'm sleeping better too. Eating under stress or in isolation doesn't always show up in lab work, but it shows up in energy, in blood sugar patterns, and in how we feel in our own skin. So if dinner feels lonely, heavy, or rushed, pause. Create even a small ritual of presence. Because how you eat is just as important as what you eat, especially in this chapter of life when peace, connection, and rhythm become powerful forms of medicine. A few weeks after Walter began eating more mindfully, a patient named Linda came in with a different energy, brighter, more grounded. At 68, Linda had a quiet confidence about her, the kind that comes not from perfection but from doing the little things right over time. She had recently moved closer to her grandchildren and wanted to stay healthy enough to keep up with them. I've been watching my dinners, she said, settling into the chair across from me. Not just the sugar or carbs, but the whole picture. That's what brought us to habit number 2, creating a balanced dinner. It sounds simple, even obvious, but you'd be amazed how many people, especially over 60, still struggle with it. Some skip dinner altogether. Others overload on carbs, or eat mostly protein but forget the fiber. Linda, on the other hand, had started following what I like to call the plate rule: half vegetables, a quarter lean protein, a quarter healthy carbs. Nothing extreme. No measuring cups or calorie counts, just using your plate as a guide. One night she might have grilled salmon, roasted Brussels sprouts, and a scoop of quinoa. Another night, turkey meatballs with sautéed spinach and baked sweet potato. Her meals weren't complicated, but they were balanced, colorful, and nourishing. I explained to her what this kind of balance does inside the body. The fiber from vegetables slows the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream, the protein supports muscle and keeps hunger stable, and the right kind of carbs give energy without the spike. It's like a well-tuned orchestra, every part plays a role, and together, they create harmony. What's more, balanced meals in the evening help reduce those late-night cravings. When your body gets what it needs, it doesn't come looking for more an hour later. That's something Linda noticed almost right away. I used to want a snack every night before bed, she told me. Now I finish dinner, and I'm satisfied, done. Her blood sugar followed suit, more stable through the night, more predictable in the morning. She had more energy during her walks, better focus during the day, and, perhaps most important, a sense of control over her own health. If there's one change I wish more people over 60 would make, it's this. Not cutting out food, not skipping meals, but simply learning how to build a plate that truly supports them. So ask yourself tonight, is my dinner balanced? Not perfect, not fancy, just balanced. A variety of colors, a good source of protein, something fibrous, and a portion of carbs that your body can handle. That one change can ripple through your entire day tomorrow. And the beautiful thing? It's not about restriction. It's about nourishment. And that mindset shift can make all the difference. After seeing the power of balanced meals in patients like Linda, it felt only natural to talk about the final habit, one I've come to consider the most quietly transformative of them all: a short nightly fast. This idea came up during a group workshop I led last fall, where several patients gathered to share what had, or hadn't, been working for their blood sugar. Among them was Joseph, 73, a retired high school teacher with a curious mind and a weathered journal full of notes from every appointment we'd ever had. When I brought up the idea of fasting, he raised his hand and said, "You mean not eating? Isn't that risky at my age?" It's a fair question, and one I always answer with nuance. Extended fasting can be too aggressive for many seniors, especially those on medications. But a gentle overnight fast, say, finishing dinner by 6:30 p.m. and not eating again until 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock the next morning, can be deeply healing. It gives the body space to rest, digest, and reset. I explained it to Joseph this way: your metabolism is like a shop. During the day, it's open for business, processing meals, storing nutrients, managing blood sugar. At night, it wants to close up and sweep the floors. If food keeps coming in, the cleanup crew gets delayed. He laughed. So I've been making my poor janitor work overtime? Exactly. Joseph gave it a try. He stuck with his balanced dinner, no late-night snacks, just warm herbal tea in the evening. At first, he said he missed his usual handful of pretzels around 9 p.m., but after a week or two, that urge faded. And then the benefits came: better sleep, lighter mornings, fewer blood sugar swings. There's real science behind it, too. Studies show that time-restricted eating, even just a 12 to 14-hour overnight break from food, improves insulin sensitivity, lowers inflammation, and supports more stable glucose patterns. And unlike complicated diets, it doesn't require counting or tracking, just timing. Now, it's not for everyone. If you're underweight, prone to low blood sugar, or take certain medications, you'll want to talk to your doctor before making changes. But for many people over 60, simply avoiding food 2 to 3 hours before bed and allowing the body to fast overnight can be one of the gentlest yet most effective shifts they can make. Joseph still keeps his journal, and in it, he wrote something I often share with new patients: sometimes healing doesn't come from adding more, but from knowing when to stop. So if you've been wondering what more you can do, maybe it's time to look at what you can pause. Your body, especially in this season of life, might just thrive on the quiet. After Joseph discovered the quiet power of a short nightly fast, I began to notice a common thread among many of my older patients. The ones who made the most meaningful improvements weren't necessarily those following the strictest diets or newest trends. They were the ones who took small, consistent steps toward balance, eating a bit earlier, choosing gentler carbs, creating calm at the table, and giving their bodies the space to rest. It wasn't about control, it was about rhythm. That's why, when I wrap up this conversation in my office, I never hand out a rigid meal plan or overwhelming rules. Instead, I offer something much simpler, a quiet invitation to pay attention. I ask each patient to check in with themselves at the end of the day: did I give my body enough time to digest before sleep? Did I choose carbs that support me rather than spike me, like sweet potatoes, lentils, or brown rice over white bread or pasta? If I had a glass of wine, did I enjoy it with food rather than alone after dinner? Did I resist that after-dinner sweet tooth that so often sneaks in just before bed? More than the food itself, was I present at the table, eating without rushing, without stress, without distraction? Did my plate include a balance, some protein, fiber-rich vegetables, and gentle carbs? And did I allow my body a true break, at least 12 hours from dinner to breakfast, to rest and reset? These aren't rules to judge yourself by. They're gentle markers of awareness, ways to show up for your body with more kindness and clarity. You don't need to do all 7 right away. In fact, just starting with one small shift can send ripples through your energy, sleep, and sugar stability. What I've seen time and again is that progress after 60 isn't about intensity. It's about steadiness. About treating your body like an old friend who's earned your respect, your patience, and your care. So here we are, 10 chapters, 7 habits, and dozens of real lives, real stories, just like yours. You've heard from folks like Harold, Nancy, Thomas, Ruth, Walter, Linda, and Joseph, not perfect people, not models of discipline, but human beings choosing, one evening at a time, to live with a little more awareness and care. And now I'd like to ask you, where do you see yourself in their stories? Are your dinners often rushed or late? Are you still holding on to the idea that a slice of fruit or a scoop of ice cream is harmless before bed? Or maybe you've already started to shift, swapping white rice for sweet potato, or lighting a candle before a quiet, screen-free meal. Whatever your starting point is, I want to remind you, this isn't about judgment. This is about noticing. It's about tuning into your own body and giving it what it truly needs, not just to survive, but to feel better each morning. Because healing at this stage of life isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters. And sometimes, what matters most is simply being willing to change a single habit, and staying with it. So I'd love to hear from you. What stood out to you in this conversation? What habit are you most ready to shift, or what small ritual are you proud to already have in place? Leave me a comment and let me know. I read every one. And if you found this helpful, go ahead and like the video. It helps more people in our age group discover insights that are made for us, not just the 30-year-olds with energy to spare. And of course, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so we can keep learning together. I've got more stories, more science, and more small but mighty changes to share with you. Until then, may your next dinner be a little calmer, your night a little more restful, and your morning blood sugar just a bit steadier. You deserve that.